Terry Funk, more than just hardcore. Chapter 6. The doctor is out of his mind. And there's one crazy bastard, in particular, who deserves his own chapter, if anyone does. One of the craziest weeks in my entire career happened a little while after Virgil Runnels came back to Amarillo, now calling himself Dusty Rhodes and wrestling as a heel. We decided to give Dusty a manager, Dr. Jerry Graham. Jerry Graham's mother had recently passed away in a Phoenix hospital while Jerry was there. Jerry was so upset that he picked up his mother's body, slung her over his shoulder and ran out of the hospital room. The interns tried to stop him, but he pushed through them and got onto an elevator. He took that elevator down to the first floor, where he pushed his way through another batch of interns. He made it out of the hospital and down the street to his car. When he got to the car, he was so tired and blown up, he just body slammed her onto the car. The police showed up and he started fighting them, until one of them cracked him on the head with a billy club, giving him 110 stitches in his head. I tell you, he looked like the goddamn Frankenstein monster. He made his bond to get out of jail, and somehow Dusty and I heard that he was available, so we suggested him to my father. My father said, well, if we bring him in, you guys are gonna have to handle him. We thought that was a great idea. Jerry Graham was one of the all-time great characters in wrestling, and we were going to make a load of money by making him Dusty's manager. His first night, we were in Albuquerque. He managed Dusty against me. In a best-of-3 falls match, Dusty won the first fall, and I won the second. Between the second and third fall, I was sitting in one corner, and Dusty was in the other. Jerry was in his corner, and told him, open your mouth. Dusty opened his mouth, and Jerry threw 2 pills inside. Dusty swallowed and said, damn, Jewy, what with that? Jerry shrugged and yelled, nobody knows. Nobody knows. That night, we drove from Albuquerque to El Paso. Back then, we went to extremes for opponents not to be seen together, so I met Dusty in the alley behind the arena, and we got going. Along the way, we stopped to get some beer. At this time, you had to go into the bar and buy the beer in New Mexico, so Jerry said, I'll go. We gave him the money, and he went in, with our beer money, plus his $85 payoff for that night. About 10 minutes later, he came out and explained. Sorry, I couldn't get no beer. We stopped at the next bar we came to, and the same thing happened. The third bar, we waited almost 10 minutes again, before we got to wondering just what the hell he was doing. We went into the bar, and there he was, shooting damn shots down, one after another. He was still drunk as a skunk when we got to El Paso. The next morning, Jerry decided it would be a good idea to dye his gray suit black. It was his only suit, but he thought it was time for a new look, so he bought a box of Ritz dye. He filled up the motel room bathtub with water, poured the Ritz dye into the tub, and then got into the tub with his suit on. We came in there later, and he must have been doing somersaults around the damn room, or something, because there was dye on the curtains, dye on the walls, dye on the sheets, there was dye everywhere in the damn room. So now he had taken his suit off to let it dry, and this pale, 400-pound nutcase was walking to the restaurant wearing nothing but his bikini briefs and a Hamburg hat, shooting at airplanes flying overhead with his umbrella. Dusty and I finally talked him back into his room, and I called my dad. Dad, Jerry Graham's terribly drunk. We can't handle him. My father yelled, you guys. You got him that way. You damn well better get him to the next town. Well, Harley Race was in the territory at the time, and he happened to be staying at the same hotel. We didn't know what to do, but we knew Harley could handle anyone, or anything, so I asked for his help. Harley, please help us. Take Jerry Graham to the next town for us. Harley took one look at the huge drunk now back in his dyed suit, and Harley growled, he's not getting in my car. You guys are gonna have to figure out some other way than that. So we rented a U-Haul trailer, hitched it to Harley's car and coaxed Jerry up into the trailer. Once he was in, we locked the door shut, and Harley drove him the rest of the way to Odessa, where he managed that night. A few days later, we were driving to a show in Littlefield. One of our favorite things to do on the road was to shoot at ducks, rabbits, or whatever creature happened to be roaming about. Well, Dusty figured out pretty quickly that we didn't need Jerry Graham around a loaded firearm, so Dusty put his shotgun in the trunk. Unfortunately, that's where Jerry found it when he went to put his bags in. Guys, he said. Let's shoot some ducks. Let's shoot some ducks. Dusty didn't want to break his heart, so Dusty said, okay, Jewy, let's the thumb duck, but I don't want you messing with the gun. Along the way, we came to a pond. We saw some ducks sitting on the pond, and Dusty rolled down the window, grabbed his gun and shot at them. One of the ducks fell. Jerry Graham jumped out and dove into the water on our side of the fencing. He wasn't a very graceful diver, either. He submerged at the fence, and came up on the other side. God only knows how he maneuvered his bulbous body through the fence, but he did. He swam all the way to the duck, about another 30 feet. And then, instead of picking the duck up, he stuck the damn thing's neck in his mouth, like he was a 400-pound bird dog. He swam back, went under the fence again, and came out of the water back by us. He put the duck down and then proceeded to shake himself like a dog drying itself off. Dusty told him, "Dewey, look at your tail, now. You're gonna have to run until you're dry." And that's exactly what he did. He ran alongside the car. The following night, back in Amarillo, Jerry got thrown in jail because he had been in a go-go bar and had grabbed one of the dancers between her legs. Not only that, but he wouldn't let go. The police had to come and force his hand off the poor girl. With Jerry Graham back in jail, my father decided it was time to send Jerry out. Usually promoters would give guys at least a 2-week notice, but I think my father was scared Jerry Graham would have burned Amarillo to the ground by then. So instead of giving him a 2-week notice, my father told him, "Jerry, I have a deal for you. I'm gonna give you $50 and one-way ticket to anywhere in the United States you want to go." Jerry was heartbroken, but he said, "Okay." Uncle Herman drove him to the airport, got him on the plane and waited until it took off. He was under strict orders from my father not to leave until he saw Jerry Graham fly out of Amarillo. Later that day, we got a call from Dallas. Jerry had disrupted the damn plane so much that they threw him in jail. Of course, he was now in Fritz's territory, which officially made him Fritz's problem. Fritz got him out, put him on a plane for New York City, and that was the last we saw of him.